Spider-Man the Unlimited. Spider-Man Unlimited, the series. One season, 13 episodes. 13 episodes, way too damn long. First off, everybody named Jaleese, I've watched Spider-Man the Unlimited series. It was one season, 13 episodes, and I gotta say this. This show tried to cash grab the Spider-Man animated series. Right after Spider-Man animated series ended, which is 98, 99, they made Spider-Man Unlimited. And Peter Parker, during this time, during On Earth, there is an alternate Earth that is shown in space and all that stuff. And Jameson's son, Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson, basically goes in a ship. Carnage and Venom get on the ship. Spider-Man tries to stop them. They go to this alternate Earth and all this stuff, different planets. And Spider-Man feels neglected, that people are turning against him on Earth. And then he goes over to the new alternate Earth to help Jonah Jameson's son. And it turns out, in this world, it's very futuristic. You got flying cars. You got robot machines working for the bad guys. You got the humans who were working and living in slums. Then you got this human and beast, these beasts, humanoid, hybrids beasts. Like, it could be an elephant, giraffe, and they're different creatures and different stuff. And the thing is, though, in this entire show, I did not care for Spider-Man. I did not care for it. You know what was better than Spider-Man? Every single side character was better in the Spider-Man Unlimited than this. Jonah Jameson's son becomes a rebellion leader for this new alternative, or for the humans. He tries to rise up against the high evolution, and all that stuff, and the guy who made all the people into, like, these type of beasts and all that stuff. Jonah Jameson's son actually becomes a good character, and there's a level of development with him, and I actually like Jameson's son. He was the star of the show to me. Then there was also, they had alternate versions of, let me just say this before I get into more into the story. Spider-Man's suit is terrible. Why he has a cape on, I have no idea. Get rid of the cape and the suit's more bearable. It's a suit that he borrowed from Reed Richards, in a sense. Then there is the theme song, which is this very techno alternate world thing. The thing is, though, about this, there is a storyline here that makes sense in this futuristic world. Spider-Man is Peter Parker. While he's in this world, he stays at this clinic's place, and this lady's name, I believe her name is, what was it? Anoya. And let me just double make sure. Aoka and her son Shane and all that stuff. Or I'm scratching off her name. She's a better character. She's actually trying to help the people who are going through this in the slums and all the stuff with the humans of Earth. She is there for her son Shane. She's really trying to be there for the humans. And again, the show is not bad for its story. It's just Peter just feels like he doesn't belong here. You know who kind of feel like he will belong? Oh, Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. He seems a better fit for this show than Peter Parker. Peter Parker in this one doesn't feel like Peter Parker. He feels like technically he's a knockoff riff-off. I did not care for Spider-Man Unlimited because I didn't care for Peter Parker and his journey throughout this. There is a storyline that makes sense. I think so. The side characters that Spider-Man's introduced become future leaders to the rebellions of the humans of Earth and how they're going to take on the evil empire and all that stuff. It's kind of like a Star Wars theme again. But this is not a bad story. It's just the fact is Peter Parker doesn't feel like he belongs in this universe. I mean, this was a blatant cash grab to get people's attention to watch it. But it didn't work because obviously the fans didn't watch it. And the show falls on a cliffhanger. 13 episodes, it ends off a cliffhanger. You ain't going to know the actual thing at the end. But the thing is, though, I gotta say this. This show had potential with his storyline, with Jonah Jameson's son. If you switch Peter Parker with Miguel O'Hara, it changes. Because Spider-Man doesn't feel like Spider-Man. He does the same thing on Earth that he does on the alternate Earth. He's going to take pictures for the Daily Bugle. You got a different Jonah Jameson. It's not Jameson. It's a different type of person. So it's just like, okay, this futuristic world is ruled by a dictator and all this stuff who has machines and beasts in charge of his army and all that stuff, and he experimented with humankind. It's not a bad story. It's not good for Spider-Man Peter Parker. If this would be a great opportunity to put Spider-Man 29. To be honest with you guys, I am very pissed off at what they did with Peter Parker in this show. I just thought, okay, what is the Spider-Man Unlimited? Maybe it's a different version of Peter Parker. Maybe the graphics are different. I do not care for special effects and all that stuff, animations. I care about storytelling and the continued story. This one had a continued story. It had kind of an interesting storyline, I'm not going to lie. But Peter doesn't feel like he belongs there. And he even says he doesn't feel like it. Half the time he's complaining about MJ or reminiscing about his life back home where the people hated him. And for some odd reason, the people love him. Well, they love him here because he starts to become like this rebellious, not leader, but he's like, as the evil people say, as the evil creatures say, the villains, that he's starting to become a symbol of hope for the rebellion leaders. To me, Jonah Jameson's son, who was going through his own stuff, being part beast, part man, was having a good storyline. And I really enjoyed his character. I enjoyed a lot of this, and I enjoyed a lot of the storylines they could have had. This show has so much potential for the side characters. Again, the side characters I love more than Peter Parker. Peter Parker just doesn't feel a part of this. Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 29, this would fit him more perfectly. I just didn't like this show because Peter doesn't fit this show. And people say, well, you have to give it a new chance. I'm giving it a new chance, but when something doesn't fit, it doesn't fit right. Peter Parker is a part of the Earth with Jameson and all this stuff in New York City at this time. There's a certain point in for characters to be in, and certain characters are a point to not be in. I mean, you could put Miles Morales in a different timeline, and it's not going to make it a good timeline. You could put him during the slave time. You think it's going to work out well for him? You think the storyline is going to be... Well, it actually might be interesting, but I'm just saying. There's a certain time and point for characters, and when you put certain characters in different timelines or different universes or different planets, they just kind of don't feel the same. They just don't fit the original world that you expect them to be. I'm not saying this show is like the worst. Okay, it might be the worst because, again, Peter Parker just doesn't fit this bill for this show. Again, if they had Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 29, or a different Spider-Man, it wouldn't be too bad. I do not hate this show, but I hate the fact that what they were doing with Peter Parker, how kind of this show was trying to go for new things, and they were trying to not go for new things. This show is a mixed bag for me. I don't hate it. I hate what they did with Peter, but I kind of saw interest in some of the futuristic stuff they were doing. I think the show had good potential, but the wrong protagonist, if that makes sense. Spider-Man Unlimited, what'd y'all think? Did you think the show could have gone on for 2 seasons? You think... Because again, even if the show ran for 2-3 seasons, it still would have felt off to me because Peter Parker does not fit in this world, this universe, and all that stuff. And I get it; it's a different time period, and Peter Parker is still going to be the same. Peter is always going to be the same old Peter Parker and all this stuff. But the thing is, though, to me, I just feel like they were trying to catch in a lot with the old, not introducing enough new stuff, and not really taking a chance on a new character. They still could have had a Spider-Man character. They could have had a futuristic Spider-Man. It's just they chose the wrong portrayal of Spider-Man from the wrong persona. I mean, again, if you're covering, like, you don't do Black Panther with an American accent. You don't do Quicksilver with an American accent. Sorry, Fox did that. But still, certain characters have to stay true to who they are and their origin and certain regions where they go. Black Panther in Africa, I expect him to have an African accent because that's the culture. If you're in a futuristic timeline of wherever Spider-Man is a freaking ad of this alternate world, it just feels like he's out of place. He's a fish out of water. You could have certain things like Captain America being from a different time, and it makes it interesting. But for this, it's not interesting for a TV show for kids and all this stuff. And a lot of people say, well, it's just for kids and all that. But to me, I didn't find this show overall that great. I don't really know where to rank it. I want to say it's bad, but I don't find it a bad story. It's just I think the protagonist is wrong. Sorry if I keep on rambling and ranting about this. I really could shorten this down to 4 minutes, 5 minutes, but I am just really... This is more therapeutic for me, to be honest with you. But Spider-Man Unlimited series had potential, was overall not the worst story I ever seen, but whoever was leading the charge, It kind of be like the Iron Man storyline, except we got, I'm not sure, a terrible actor to... It's like if we got Kristen Stewart to play in a Wonder Woman movie. Good story, but will she carry it off? You understand where I'm going now? With Kristen Stewart being Wonder Woman? I'm just hoping that sinks in about how terrible this show got because Peter Parker was not supposed to be, in my opinion. in this show. Spider-Man Unlimited, not the most terrible show. I'm going to give it a C-. A D+. The lowest I could give it, the highest is a C-. I cannot really go back to the show and end on a cliffhanger. If they continue the series of comic book, I really don't care because Peter Parker does not fit this universe. But let me just all think, everyone. What did you think of Spider-Man Unlimited? Do you think it was a great show? Do you think it was a terrible show? Let me just all think, everyone. I mean, Jaleesa, offered to everybody. Bye.